What up, dog? All right, I'm live, waiting for people. We wait. And there's one. That's what, 5 seconds for that one. All right, not bad, not bad. Kids are on the ball. Let's get some more in here. Two,
Two,
four,
four,
five. I don't.
six.
Six. I don't start yapping for five people, man. Y'all need to get six. Okay, there's six.
I hear
Getting
playing,
there.
yapping.
Hello, Leela. Seven. Seven. Oh, now we're down to six. Oh, come on now. Hello, elegantly yours. Hi, Uncle Birch and Marta.
Oh,
Uncle. A typo.
what?
Uncle.
Uncle?
Uncle.
Oh, God.
All right, so we got people fluctuating in here. I'll start yapping in a minute here. Ah, all right, that's a good number. Hi, I'm Uncle Birch. You probably know that. You're on my channel. And all you people keep saying, hi, Uncle Birch. I'm pretty sure you need to be subscribed to find out that I go live. I'm not sure how that works. Hopefully, you're all subscribers. If not, hit the little button. Should be right over there. Um, so you should probably already know. I teach witchcraft for a living. Always talking about it. Always plugging the classes here, and I just finished my first year and a day of this particular series of classes that I'm doing right now, and I probably roll those for a year or two, and then by then I will have changed my perspective on some stuff. I'll have to do it again, and then I'll have another downloadable year and a day course on my Gumroad channel. So I've been doing these year and a day courses in witchcraft. I have three going right now because one just finished, and then I got another one starting March 1st. And so I do this kind of thing when it gets up close to class time. Well, plug the class, but also to just kind of keep my teaching muscle strong. It's my job to answer random questions from witches all over the world. And if I don't stay abreast at what the new kids want to know about, I won't know because I'm an old fart. So I need to stay abreast of the kind of what kind of craft is out there, what kind of bullshit is out there, what kind of stuff people want to know. So I do this little Q&A thing here, there, and everywhere. I pop up unannounced, unexpected, and uninvited most often. I do this Ask Uncle Birch. So it helps me. Hopefully it helps you because there's just so much crap out there. I 10 years ago when I started teaching witchcraft on YouTube, I didn't know, how far that rabbit hole was going to go, but it just keeps going. And now it's like I'm digitally teaching like a motherfucker all the damn time, everywhere you go, sometimes for money, sometimes for free. You can always go over to gumroad.com/witchskewl, WITCHSKEWL, and see all the wonderful courses that I have there. I have entire year and a day courses available for download for those binge watching millennials that want to do that kind of stuff, that want to take a year and a day in like a week. You can do that. You can do that. Or you can do it the more old fashioned way and sign up March 1st. Now, pay attention if you're thinking about this. Do not go to my website and click on any of the courses that say WitchSkewl year and a day, because those are probably already going. There's one that says November 1st, one August 1st, one May 1st. Don't sign up for those. Those are already in session. The March 1st class will not appear until March 1st. It's a complication with billing. If I let people sign up early, they end up paying for like 13 months. So I have to wait till March 1st proper to launch the class. If you want to make sure and get a spot in that class, you need to contact me at witchskewl@gmail.com, which is, of course, WITCHSKEWL at gmail.com. Now, in case you're new to the game, here's how we play. You can ask me a question about any type of magic and almost anything you want. Do not ask me to do a psychic reading for you. It ain't that kind of party. Try not to ask me a question when I'm answering a question. Try not to be too long-winded, or I will miss some of your question. If it was that important, you don't want me to miss any of it, right? And a good idea to copy your question, and so you can paste it several times, because they appear on the screen and then they fade away. Often I do not scroll back, so I might miss your question, and then that way you won't have to retype it many, many, many times. So, you got a question? Got something to say? Have at it. We've got enough people in here now. When you put your enemies in a box, Tara says, can you use your family? Ooh, that's a good one. You can use your family graveyard dirt. Also, still waiting for my tarot reading. I paid on the Grove. Did you contact me? Somebody I'm supposed to get back to this week. If you contacted me at witchskewl@gmail.com, yeah, just started to see a couple openings probably this week on my schedule, and I'll get back to you. If not, yes, okay, that was you. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm getting ready to get back to you. I've got a couple readings to schedule, and I've got a couple openings, so hopefully we'll figure out something that works for you there. And thanks for reminding me. Sometimes I don't look. Sometimes I'll be back ordered on orders, and I don't see that one was a reading. And that's really easy to fill an order. I just have to give a reading. Let's see. Can you use the family? Let me see if I got the whole question. Family graveyard dirt. Yes, absolutely. I would. Stu Phone, Uncle Birch, normally watch you on Facebook. Yes. Yes, use your family graveyard dirt that's connected to your ancestors. That's probably the best graveyard dirt to do for that kind of thing, because they got your back. They've had your back for a long time. So yeah, if you got a family plot, get some graveyard dirt from there for the box for your enemies, which is it's a great one. That's one of the ones you can get on Gumroad. I think it's Spiritual Warfare, a box for your enemies. You can check that one out. Yeah, you should watch me on YouTube. I mean, sometimes I'll pop up on my Unity of Wicca and Witchcraft page. Sometimes I'll pop up on my page. I've done a lot on beginners Wicca and Witchcraft, and I'm not sure if that's going to continue. There's a lot of hubbub going on over there, and I'm not sure if the current staff will even allow me to do it. And with the people that they've lost most of the people there that know their stuff. And so I will still try and do it there, because I feel for the new kids, and a lot of the bullshit that they're fed on such pages, and wouldn't want to just leave them hanging, even though most of the other admins have left. So I'm not going to really go into that right now. Let's see. My favorite uncle's graveyard dirt for that reason. Yes. Very good, very good, very good. I already bought Spiritual Warfare, the whole series. Yes. Good. Well, then there's Magical Warfare. I'm starting to call it Magical Warfare right now. And I've got the Art of Magical Warfare up there, so I don't know if you got that one. That's pretty much my lectures from last year's Hex Fest. This year will be on the magic of the mind, or something like that. I forget what I wrote down, but you just stick me in front of a crowd, I start talking, teaching starts happening. No script, no talking points, no teleprompter. It'll be a hell of a class, so if you ain't coming to Hex Fest yet, you better get ready. It's, you got plenty of time right now, but August 9th to the...
I think it's maybe the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
7th, 8th, and 9th.
I don't know.
I think you're right. I think we just figured that out. Well, at any rate, you go to hexfest.com and you can check that out. You'll see the dates and the cost and all of the presenters, including myself. Now that I'm a local in New Orleans, when I do Hexfest, apparently I only have to do one workshop. When they're paying for you to come across the country, they get 3 out of you. So,
yeah, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
So we'll be able to go to other people's workshops, socialize more. It's going to be very cool, but I'm going to be at Hexfest. And also...
refrigerator.
Yeah. Then there's Hex. They're working on some stuff right now, and I think it's Hex New Orleans. And I'm not sure if it's going through their Omen site, but if you check on Hex New Orleans website, they're gearing up to do some classes. And I have not taught in person in about 3 or 4 years since I closed my brick and mortar. And I kind of miss that. And now that we're, in a place, with just absolute fuckloads of witches, I figure I should do that again. So I just submitted my first class to Hex, and what they've got is they've got some sort of video format thing going on, where you can take the class remotely, and then later I think you can still take the class after it occurred, kind of like I'm doing on Gumroad. So keep an eye out for that. I'll plug it when I have some details on that. I have no idea about dates. I'm still waiting for the proprietor to be back from one of his fabulous vacations to schedule a class. But keep an eye out. A lot of things happening since we moved to New Orleans, picking up a lot of work. And then there's all the other friends' shops too that I could teach at. Let's see. Can you brew your own oils with dried herbs and essential oils? Best book or video? Cunningham's Incense Oils and Brews is good. Slater, the magical formularies are still where a lot of recipes are coming for, and your average hoodoo recipe that you'll see that out there in the world came from the magical formularies of Slater and the magical formularies spell book. Those give you some good recipes. Cunningham gives a little bit of brewing techniques. What I try and remind the new kids is it ain't what half the people out there telling you, man. Essential oils are not magical oils. Essential oils smell nice, and maybe the power of aromatherapy is doing something for us, but that's about it. The term noxious brew comes from witchcraft, and brews were noxious, nasty smelling. They smelled like dirt often because they were herbs and
Like
roots and
Chinese
shit.
herbs,
Like Chinese herbs,
decoctions.
yeah, like that kind of thing. Decoctions. My basic method that I will give away. First, you need a carrier oil. I've been using grapeseed for a few years. I used to use a fixed almond and jojoba, but it's kind of touchy, especially when you're running a retail establishment, because nut allergies are a bitch. You could fucking kill somebody, and so you got to like put warning labels on all your shit. Contains almond oil. Contains almond oil.
Jojoba's pretty good though.
Yeah, well, jojoba is what I use to keep the almond oil from going rancid. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a 1/4 to, yeah, 2 parts to 1 part. Any rate, you get your carrier oil, then you get you're going to soak your herbs and your roots with enough carrier oil to just, go over the top of them. And there's a tricky part. You want to heat the oil just above room temperature and then cool it. And at best, if you heat it just above room temperature, stick it in the fridge. Heat it just above room temperature. Stick it in the fridge. As long as you can do this, weeks of this, and you could let it just sit for a while, and then occasionally heat it up just a little bit, cool it off just a little bit. But you only want to go just above room temperature. If you start burning herbs and roots, there's going to be a smell in there that's never going to go away. Now, this makes the oil expand and contract, literally sucking the juices out of the plant matter. That was the basics. And you typically would start this, magically timing this, or time with the moon, or planetary cycles, that kind of thing. You're going to have to do a little bit of your own research to figure out when's the best time to do that. If you're taking my year in a day course, about halfway through the course, I'm actually teaching setting up shop. How to start a witchcraft or spiritual or psychic business, with all of the techniques that I've learned and all the mistakes that I've made over the years, which were numerous, but that's the best way to learn. So I also teach some brewing techniques, incense, oils, I think even some powders. Give away those ideas, not for free because they're paying for the class. But anyway, once you've done that enough times, you've got enough plant matter. You'll see the oil will have a color now. It won't be clear anymore. It will look muddy. That's when people typically follow up with the essential oils. It was not always the way, but post New Age, people started wanting stuff that smelled pretty. And post New Age, people got involved in stuff like aromatherapy and that kind of thing, and confused that with witchcraft. Scent is a powerful magic, however, so I'm not going to discount the use of that, but you're just going out and buying some essential oils and mixing them together. That's not a magical oil. That's not a spell oil. That's not even the right way of using the plant matter. A lot of times essential oils are extracted using chemicals. You really need to know a reputable company. I like Star West. Star West is reasonably priced on their essential oils, and they brew them well, and they're not using chemicals and shit like that. So I give you that one. But then you make it smell nice, and maybe something associated with what you're trying to accomplish. Like maybe a study oil. Definitely you want to smell like rosemary. A love oil, or definitely a come to me oil, is going to smell like rose more than anything else. But there'll be a few things mixed into there to come up with your own scents. So that's the market. That's what the market wants. The market wanted something that smells pretty, and me sitting there all day in my store telling people, no, they're supposed to smell nasty. That didn't work. So you got to give the people what they want, even if it isn't what they need. But so you do your noxious brew, and over the top of it, and it's usually like for a big couple ounce batch of oil, it's not going to be more than double digits of drops. A typical batch is going to be like 2 or 3 drops of each essential oil, and they blend in and they take over and they smell pretty. A good idea to bottle these things in what do they call amber? The amber colored bottles, or the blue colored bottles, stuff that's going to stop the sunlight from getting to it. Sunlight can make the stuff go rancid, keep them in a dark place, they'll last longer. But then another thing, even if you're buying oils from me, which are magically timed and brewed by a brewmaster and stuff, you want to charge them. The reason that we use oils in magic is because it's a liquid substance that will hold a magical charge that we can then spread around onto stuff. So charge them up, charge them up. I think I gave a lot of answer for that question. Let me see if I missed anything. Nope, perfect. There we are. Yeah, I'm not sure of any videos teaching brewing techniques. There's also a book I think I hopefully still have it. We've lost so many books in the last couple moves, but the Master Grimoire had a lot of recipes. Cat Ironwood's hoodoo, herb, and root magic. Even though I parted ways with Cat Ironwood, it's good work. That's a good book. It's not a lot on recipes and stuff, but the different uses, hoodoo uses for a lot of these same plants, and even they go into animal parts, and there's a lot in that book. So I suggest that too. Charge with intention. Yes. I mean, typically, most common, we're going to be pulling up, we're going to visualize roots going from our feet down to the core of the earth, which is a white glowing sphere of raw energy. And we're going to suck that raw energy up our roots through our body, still white, filling our entire body with it. And then it's going to depend. Now, am I doing a thing to project energy out there? I'm going to want to use my right hand. Am I doing a thing to bring something to me, like a come to me oil, money attraction kind of thing? I'm going to use my left hand to charge it. At the point of your left hand, or the tool that you're holding in your hand, that's where it picks up color. So like a come to me, I'm going to be sending red energy. It's going to turn red when it comes out of here. I'm going to blasting that thing with a red laser beam, green for money, that kind of thing. See if I'm projecting, like let's say I'm doing a protection thing, I'm trying to keep some stuff away. Maybe blue, maybe purple out of the right hand. It's very, very, this color magic. So you got to, do some study on color magic and the different symbology behind all of the different colors. But that's basically so that, and your intention as you're doing that. You could even, it's a really good idea to be chanting something, your statement of intent or something over and over and over again. Then some stuff you might want to charge with the moon. Leave it out in the moonlight overnight. Maybe a moon oil, even a love oil. Definitely, love is ruled by water. The moon rules the water, the tides. The moon is why we have waves. So the moon is very connected to the water. So charging a love oil with the moon Or even if you were doing your money oil, you know, leaving it in the moonlight during a waxing moon makes a lot of sense. There you go. Also, the energy of your hand, you're just holding it in your hand, that's a powerful force too. The heat, where you have heat, you have energy. So the heat from your actual body. Um, some people even will like put a little sigil in their oils for the purpose that it's for, and then the sigil will actually bleed into the oil, and the symbol won't be readily apparent anymore, unless like you use a magic marker or something like that. All right, well, holding fast at 13. I'm Uncle Birch. We're learning some stuff about witchcraft. You got a question about witchcraft, magic? Hoodoo, voodoo, conjure. I've answered questions about all of them. Ceremonial magic, even stuff I don't practice. I can answer a question. Um, hey Birch, who's best for transformation, Pluto or Uranus or both? Uh, Pluto would be my prime. You know, the small version of the feeding of your enemies type transformation sigil, it's big on Pluto. But then those that have, you know, shelled out the money for the big spell will see a bunch of planets playing into that. And a bunch of planets, that spell is where we created the sigil that has Pluto in the center. So definitely your Uranus is going to play a part in that too. But my big one for transformation is going to be Pluto. All right, got you all stopped. Do you have to do a circle in hoodoo? No, usually they don't. I see some hybrid hoodoo. You know, if you see them doing a circle, they got a hybrid. But there's this thing I'm still trying to really work out all the ways that this works over my 40 years ago when they said it. Mom said with regard to sympathetic magic, on the spiritual plane, like attracts like. On the physical plane, opposites attract. So that would lead me to surmise that perhaps when not working in a circle, when not projecting that energy to a spiritual plane, we might be doing physical things on our altar that are the opposite of what we want to occur. I'm still playing with that. I don't have any hard theories, but I've had experiments where that totally worked, and ones where they didn't work quite so well. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. But when we casting circle, we're putting ourselves between worlds. So it's pretty much got one foot in the spiritual world, and we're launching the spell into the spiritual world. So in that context, like attracts like. But if what Mom said is true, when we're not in a circle, maybe we should be doing things that are the opposite. But I don't actually see that reflected in hoodoo. And part of the problem, and Mom said this too, and this will piss off a lot of people. She said, the difference between folk magic and witchcraft is the folk magic was the folk repeating steps that they saw a witch once do. When the witch did those steps, the witch knew not only what worked, but why it worked and how it worked. The witch is a scientist and has experimented with it. Where the average folk magician just knows some shit that works. They don't have any idea why it works. I think to have a full grasp of that power, you want to know why it works, how it works, what's going to make it not work. You want to know everything about that goddamn thing. Let me see if I missed any questions here. Mm-hmm. You have to choose. If I had to choose one piece of magical jewelry, what would it be? The Chimaruta. The Chimaruta. I mean, besides everything that Chimaruta means and all the power that goes behind it, my personal experience with the Chimaruta made a profound impact on my life. And you'll have to hunt around and see if you can hear that story somewhere. Actually, if you go to Witterson's, our podcast, and look for when we had Matt Aron on, the psychic, he hit the nail on the head about that particular story. So if you're familiar with it, or if you become familiar with it, you'll see why it's so extremely magical to me. What the fuck are they doing over there, man? Let's see if I missed anything. What's the difference between Palo and hoodoo? Woo! Huge, huge, huge. While some Paleros might consider themselves Catholic, most hoodoos are going to consider themselves Baptists. But I've seen Catholic hoodoo too.
You've seen Jewish hoodoo.
I've seen Judo.
Yeah. Hoodoo.
Palo, Palo Mayombe, Palo Monte, Palo Cambisa, all of them are African traditional religions. Actually, let's be specific, Afro-Cuban. They have their roots in Africa, but then when they get to Cuba, it's a very different thing. If you were to look at Palo and Yoruba or Ifa or any of those side by side, some drastic similarities there. They all have what one side will call an Orisha, and both sides have the exact same, what we might call an Orisha over here, that all do the exact same things, have the exact same holy days, have the exact same color schemes, have the exact same likes and dislikes. But over here on Palo, they're not Orishas.
And Pungos.
And Pungos. But they all have different names. So like, let's say in
Legua.
yeah, in the other Yoruba and all of the other ones that I mentioned, you got to have an Elegua, Elegua. Elegua is your doorway to the other Orishas. You have to talk to him first, and if he sees fit, he will transmit your message over to the other side. Now, Palo, we got Lucero. Exact same scheme, exact same usage, exact color scheme. His holy days on Monday. It's exactly the same. So they got this roots in Africa, but then when they come over here in Cuba, it switches a lot. So there is no Palo in Africa. And I don't care what anybody fucking tells you. There is no Palo in Africa. It's an Afro-Cuban religion. But you see the elements thereof. I mean, even voodoo is all about the Orishas. They're all working with the same Orishas, doing the same shit as all the other ones. These are all African traditional religions, ATRs. Hoodoo is folk magic steeped in African American. I'm not going to go there just because it's PC and call it African American folk magic, because there are too many elements of it that are not, because it's America. And America was a melting pot. And hoodoo practitioners mixed their shit up with all kinds of stuff that was around them, all kinds of other cultures. There is no pure vein of hoodoo that's going to make it an African specific folk magic. It is definitely roots in African American folk magic, African American folk magic, but that second word, American, is really specific. Once something comes to America, it ain't that kind of party. It ain't gonna happen. And I've thrown this out there enough times, I'll throw it out there again. You gotta think to the way back. Once upon a time, America was England, France. We're in France right now, okay? We're in New fucking France. New Orleans was fucking France. All the way up to fucking Canada. Over here, England, all the way up to Canada. And over here, Spain. All the way up to kind of the edge of Canada. I don't think they went all the way up into Canada. It was probably too cold for them. But these three colonial powers ruled this land for a very long time before this American experience happened. And, you know, we got France from the Louisiana Purchase because the Haitians overthrew their overlords, the French, over in Haiti, and France no longer had a port close enough to keep their army and navy intact, so they had to ditch it. And they ditched it at a very low price, and America bought the fucking thing. But still, we have generations of French people all through that section. Over here in England, the English portion, you know, a lot of those peasants, a lot of those indentured servants, if they could, when they hit the fucking ground off the ship, they hit the ground running. They ran off into the woods. That's why we got all this like Appalachian folk magic and shit. That was like some of the original people here. They're like still singing like variants of Irish folk songs that they fucking brought with them across the pond, because they knew if they didn't run to the hills, they were going to be enslaved. Well, not exactly enslaved. They're going to be indentured servants, which is a little better, but roughly the same. You know, eventually you got to work your way out of it. Was about the only fucking difference. But same thing with in the French sections, like a lot of those fucking peasants that arrived here, man, they ran to the fucking hills. They got away from that shit. Over here, same fucking thing in Spain. Then you got the indigenous people hiding up in the hills too, and so you got all of this shit already. Before we have this American melting pot, this place is a fucking blender of European ideas. And then there's the Native Americans that were already fucking here. In no way you're going to have any pure strain of magic come from this land, and I don't really think you need it. I think they all have ideas that they brought to the big stone soup of what is magic, and they're all good ideas. I mean, if you look at voodoo here in New Orleans, there's so many variants that make it very different than what you're going to find in Haiti, but it's still fucking voodoo. That's because they were in New Orleans. They picked up all this other stuff that went good together. And a lot of voodoo ends up surviving by obscuring itself to look like Catholicism, or maybe even adopting their gods. Some people, they weren't really just hiding, they really believed that those were the same fucking gods. Anyway, that's a long story. I gave you some interesting history to go look up. Let's see. Can you tell us anything about sigil magic or servitor creation during Mercury retrograde? Does Mercury retrograde have any effect? So, find my, probably the easiest way to find is because I don't post a lot of stuff there. Find Uncle Birch on Facebook. Find my Facebook page. I think on there, and I think on Unity of Wicca and Witchcraft, another one of my pages, and even on my other page, my Michael Carell page, I posted it, but you'd have to scroll way back to ever find it. I made a sigil. To navigate Mercury retrograde. So I was sick of hearing people whine about it all the time. The sigil is based on a triangular sail. Let me give you again, we're going to have a little history lesson. Long, long ago, our ancestors figured out how to cross the sea using the broad sail on ships. Big square things, you've seen them, you know, old pirate ship looking things, Nina, Pinta, Santa Maria, all that shit. The broad sail, you had to have the wind at your back. And if the wind wasn't favorable, they would drop their sails and float around at sea until they had a favorable wind, often ending up very off course. Not optimal. Not optimal. You could lose your wind for weeks and just be stuck out in the middle of the fucking ocean just waiting for a fucking wind to happen. Now somebody eventually comes up with the triangular sail. With the triangular sail, you can sail into the wind. You know, a slight angle, you know, ticking and tacking through it, but you're using the force of the wind against you to propel you forward. So I based a sigil on the triangular sail to navigate Mercury retrograde, because Mom always said, a witch takes the reins, not the ride. We study astrology, we study the movements of the planets, we study the planetary energies, not to limit us, but to aid us. And we might need to do a magic when it's not the best time to do it. You know, we might need to do a money spell during a waning fucking moon. How are you going to do that? Well, you use the triangular sail for that shit too, man. I made it for Mercury retrograde, but it's very pliable, malleable. You'll see the fucking thing. You'll never hear about me bitching about Mercury retrograde. I'm going to do what I got to fucking do. I think, you know, we've plenty of our plans to move here to New Orleans had to have happened during a Mercury retrograde, because, you know, it was a good few months of planning and shit to do this thing.
Was it during a Mercury retrograde?
I think one happened, because I remember, you know, Marie and them all bitching about it and going on and on about it. And there's, you know, other people making oils to navigate it and candles. I think the sigil, man, the sigil.
Never really bothered me.
And the sigil I made during Mercury retrograde. So there you go. Now, if you want more information on sigils, you just got to go way, 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 way back on this page. I think it was my second video, probably 10 years ago. I'm one of the OG fucking witchcraft teachers on fucking YouTube. I think sigil magic was my second video. I think my wands was my first. But yeah, keep that in mind. A witch takes the reins, not the ride. None of this stuff is meant to be intimidating us. It's meant so we can understand the forces. What I always teach my kids, magic is a science. Science is the tracking of variables and experimenting with those variables and keeping notes of how those variables affect us. So we know about the planetary energies, the lunar energies, the seasonal energies. These are variables that can affect our magic. Now, there's billions of other variables that we can never know about. There's energy reaching us from stars that went supernova billions of years ago. That energy is a variable. It's coming into our sphere. So what we're trying to do with all this study and stuff is track as many of the variables that possibly can be tracked to make up for those those many variables that we can't keep track of. So a lot of times, you can do the same spell in the same conditions and it won't turn out exactly the same. There's your variable, and you got to start keeping in your notes, trying to track what could that variable have been. Was there a planetary alignment of the stars, that was affecting us? It's a lot of experimenting, but we're trying to track all the variables we can track because there's so many that we can't track. Make our magic more intact. Let's see. Sorry to keep pointing at you like that. I know you studied different paths. Do you use them all? What path do you teach in which school? Oh. Hold on, I gotta go close the door that the dog left open. He's born in a barn. The cat will come out. Okay. First of all, what do I teach in which school? It's probably a hodgepodge of a lot of the things I know. There are some strega techniques. I do probably talk a little bit of Palo things here and there, but don't really teach it. It's witchcraft, and I can't narrow down witchcraft any more than that. I hate the little subcategories people get at green witch, hedge witch, all that bullshit. It's all the witchcraft that I've piled into my bag of tricks over these years. I have people in my classes that might be leaning towards Wicca. I have people in my classes that don't believe the gods exist at all. I have people that are totally scientific, that are totally spiritual. They're just working with their ancestors. And somehow, the Circle A model that we're working with right now works for all of them. So we're this one big happy family that has things in common, but differences, variances in the way that we practice our magic. I don't dictate any of that type of stuff. I teach everybody everything that I know that's out there, and then they come up with their own version of it later. And it may not be exactly, it's hopefully not exactly like I taught them, because you've got to add something to your magic. You can't just repeat Uncle Birch all day long. It's not going to work that way. Now, what different paths to use them all? Yes, I don't really care what a lot of my friends will say, and they will say stuff. I use everything I got. I will do witchcraft on my Palo, and you can't tell me not to do it. Our Tata in Palo is either brilliant or neglectful, and taught us certain things, and then sent us out to develop a relationship with our, first of all, with our Luceros. And I developed my own relationship, and I learned to talk to it. And it's like, okay, here's this thing that we need to get fucking done. What do you need me to bring you to do that thing? And next thing you know, I'm running around the backyard grabbing random plants. A lot of them were herbs that I'd use in witchcraft. And there was some shit, I don't even know what some of those plants were, but he wanted it, said he'd work with it, and he would. And that's the way it worked in Palo. Even like the first Palo I ever saw, they were doing a bunch of hoodoo on their pots. And I won't use them as an example, but if your spirits, whatever you're working with, your Pungos or your Luceros or your ancestors, whatever, if they say they'll work with it, fuck anybody else. If my Lucero says I can fucking do a candle spell on his head, which I have, a classic fucking candle spell, I'll fucking do it. Or do it right in front of him, I'll fucking do it. Whatever works. I do mix those things together because those are my witchcraft. Sometimes I'll do Palo with just Palo. But sometimes when it's, getting things done, magic's in that system to do some weren't important enough to people to have magics written down to do those things. So I have to add things to do those things. I burned sigils on my Lucero's head. It fucking worked out fine. So I don't care what the purists say. Again, there is no pure strain. Even the ATRs, they're never going to be pure. Like Palo, they have decided to be oral traditions, even though, if they would just look at the white people that already tried to do that, didn't work out for those witches. The only people that ended up with an intact magical system is the ceremonial magicians, because they wrote everything down. You will never have an oral, intact magical system. And maybe that's good. Maybe it's good to have these things evolve and have variance. That is what the bards used to say. They refused to write anything down because they wanted the story to change every time somebody told it. There's nothing pure out there, man. You can blame it on me for saying that. Tell everybody I said it and make them all mad at me. Just add to my power. What time is it, honey?
1:55.
All right, I'm doing good. It's pretty nice out here today. Not bad. Just they get that biting wind. I can't stand it. It's overcast. It's pretty cool. Hecate. Hecate seems to Dave, I signed up for November 1st WitchSkewl. Haven't touched anything past lesson 1. I'm still signed up as already to start this week. Yeah, it's my courses are made to take them at your speed. The old year and a day courses that I taught, a few years back, that are downloadable. I still have students from back when that was a year and a day course turning in homework. Like 5 years later, some dude starts turning in homework. I had to go fucking look. Who the fuck are you? It's like, he was in the class, but I never heard from the guy. So I didn't remember his name, but, that's still acceptable. It wasn't the right time for him to follow the course and do the homework. Now's the right time for him. Who am I to say that that's not okay? Let's see. I had a couple questions here. Hecate seems to be showing up for me everywhere. What do you recommend for learning about calling on her? First thing, a crossroads and a dark moon. And this is one of those things, like I got an argument not too long ago with some hoodoo people about, like, white people doing a cultural appropriation because they're gathering at the crossroads. Fucking bitch, they've been gathering at the crossroads since the dawn of the Greek civilization. It was the fucking place for Hecate and so many other deities, so many other spirits. The crossroads is a universal concept. Problem is, some people are thinking that they're the only people that came up with the concept. These magical ideas float around the earth, and it's amazing how many similar variants of those ideas pop up in all these different cultures. Even before anybody was writing anything down or transmitting this data, nobody owns the fucking crossroads. But Hecate, man, that's definitely her jam. When you get out to the crossroads, she's gonna probably want some tobacco, some alcohol, Hecate, probably wine, red wine. Make an offering to her, call to her to come into your life, and she'll rock it and go. Somewhere out there's my Hecate story. Several different versions of it I've told. I probably told it on an Ask Uncle Birch. Go watch all the Ask Uncle Birches and you'll hear that story, I think. My Aubrey Camino plant is struggling, not sure exactly why. I'm a little concerned about the symbolism. It's alive, but the new growth is coming in curly and small.
Ask how
Any
much
thoughts?
moisture is in their climate.
Yeah, how humid is their climate?
It won't do well if it's dry.
Yeah, I tried to grow it twice in LA. did not work out. So I wasn't worried about the symbolism there because I was trying to make an alien plant grow in the wrong environment. But I'm getting ready to, spring is upon us here. The mosquitoes are fucking, and so it's a sign of spring. I got to get an Abre Camino and plant it and see how it goes here. And I did know somebody, I don't know if that was you, Sonny, that was trying to grow it indoors using lights. So I'm not sure how that would work. Maybe, and if you were, maybe you got to like mist it occasionally. Maverick Cadaveric. Hey, Uncle Birch and Marto, what is your favorite unusual, weird, magical item or ingredient and what it's used for? Thanks. Unusual and weird.
Unusual and weird.
Hard to gauge weird anymore.
Probably think of music. I can't think of anything that's like particularly weird.
Well, what used to be really weird, but is now not so weird? A gator foot.
Yeah.
Alligator foot for a money charm. Got one in my pocket, and it just
Sasha even has one.
Yeah, just recently the claw wore down enough to where it's not stabbing me in the leg all the time. Yeah, gator foot money spell, and that would. But now that we're here in New Orleans, one of my students in the November class that we met here, he brought my kid a gator foot right away. Hopefully he put that in his special box. I gotta ask him about that. We gotta teach him how to work his gator foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's already said he likes money.
Yeah. Yeah. I like money. I was trying to do the dude from Idiocracy.
Oh.
I like money. Baiting. Did you ever work with Lucifer? What do you think about it? Yes. Yes, I've worked with Lucifer. Powerful force. But really, Venus. Part of the problem with the Bible is everybody's trying to read the damn thing literally, and it's a metaphoric calendar of history. Lucifer, the morning star, really wasn't a star, it was Venus. And when Lucifer fell, that would be a retrograde. And then probably a meteor storm of 72 angels, but still very powerful force because of all the belief that people put into him. There is a very obscure book out there that pairs up Lucifer and Hecate. Lucifer's Hecate's consort, which is, I think, absolute bullshit. Hecate is too badass to ever need a consort, and Lucifer's an entirely different pantheon. It's Roman. Let's see. Yes, Idiocracy is the current state of the union. And for some reason, they just started playing it all the time. I looked for it for years, never could find it. But I think HBO or Showtime showed it a couple times just in the last week. And we watched it both times. Dave, question mark. Well, that's rather vague, Dave. I don't know. Waiting for a question. Well, if you're just joining us, I've got a lot of new people in here. I'm Uncle Birch. I teach witchcraft for a living. On a teaching frenzy, I will have 4 year-in-a-day courses going at the same time starting March 1st. You can contact me at witchskewl@gmail.com. I can give you all the info on that. $35 a month for a year. You get some text from me and you get 3 video classes a month, and then you get to email me all the time and ask me all your questions. Let's see. What's the most backwards experience I ever had? November 2016 to the present.
What?
The most backwards experience I've ever had.
What happened in November 2000?
Trump.
Oh, yeah.
This is watching this entire country go backwards.
Yeah.
And you can all bitch about me being political. I always get some shit. But, once they were able to use religious rights to discriminate against gay people and then take away birth control for women in the workplace, it is not... And
health insurance doesn't cover maternity.
Health insurance doesn't cover maternity,
what do you do with
but
that?
they're all pro-life, right? Yeah. Health care doesn't cover maternity
I was
anymore.
looking at insurance. very first question they asked me, like just a week ago, was, "Are you pregnant?" Because it doesn't cover pregnancy. A lot of them.
People always
So
give me
how
shit.
do you reconcile those two things?
People always give me shit for being Chicken Little, but in the present context, after what has already happened and been allowed to occur under the guise of religious rights, which really means rights only for Christians, it is not a far stretch for some fucking Yahoo to come down the pike and say it would be a violation of their religious freedom to force them to suffer a witch to live. Wait for it. It's coming. I used your transformation sigil in a ritual. I did, and damn, it was powerful. Thank you. Well, you're welcome, Antonio. I'm in with it. It is a work of my witch mom, Judith Dufresne. Something she came up with. I used it a lot and then elaborated on her ideas and made it my own, which is what she taught me to do. But yes, I use it all the time. Those people that are going to be pissed at me for being political just a second ago, they're just going to fuel my armies, man. Fuel my armies. So we want to step it up another level. You go to gumroad.com/witchskewl, WITCHSKEWL, and spiritual warfare feeding on your enemies, where I do the huge elaborate version of the transformation sigil, and you can see all the stuff that goes behind it that created the sigil that you'll see here on YouTube. When I did it here on YouTube, it was a little vague for people to figure it out, and we're only using it as a protection thing, but in reality, that transformation thing can be used to transform any energy coming into your sphere. Where can you find Jade's book on money magic? Well, if you want to pay 300 and some odd fucking dollars for shipping or something, it was on Amazon, and I put it up. I found the link, and somebody pointed out that it has this exorbitant price on the thing. I don't even know. I know the Eye of the Cat didn't do that. You could contact the Eye of the Cat in Long Beach, California. If anybody has it, they would have it. Several of her books are up on Amazon now. I started a influencer page. I think it's amazon.com/shop/freakville1309, just like on this channel, FREAKPHIL, and the number's 1309, where I did suggested reading lists. I found most of my mom's old books. Then I went into oils and spell components and ritual tools. It's just like all this stuff that I recommend, because over the decades of being in the witch store business, I did business with a lot of good vendors that made good shit. And when I closed my brick and mortar and put it all online, I stopped doing business with a lot of those people, because you just don't need as much stuff on hand when you're not a brick and mortar. But I still know them. I still immediately, I'll look at a huge list of stuff. It's like, oh, that one, that's good shit. Other stuff, maybe not. But I started making recommended lists. If you just Google Uncle Birch, you'll find pages, and you'll find the Amazon influencer page. Every so often I'll Google myself just to make sure what comes up, and that does come up. But you can see several of Jade's books. That's my witch mom. That was her pen name. But the money magic book, if it can be found, The Eye of the Cat in Long Beach. Tell him Uncle Birch sent you. And carry some weight, hopefully, still. Let's see if I missed anything here. All right, I'm up to date on questions. We're doing Ask Uncle Birch. If you've got a question about magic or witchcraft or whatever you got, fire it away. Just try not to ask me a question when I'm answering a question. Try not to be too long-winded. I ordered supplies from Sacred Grove. Oh my order me. You got a reading coming up, right? Tara, remind me of your order number, and I'll put a bug up my people's asses. I've changed the ways that I do things. There's no way to keep up with all of that and all of the classes and the other stuff, and I finally broke down and hired a staff. So I've got a production people working on that stuff. So I'm not even really sure where the order is. But if you get to me in an email, I'll fire them off a message and see where it is. And usually I can put a bug up their ass to get it out more quickly. March 1st, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But if you contact me today, and I'll get on them, see if we can get it out to you. And anybody has a outstanding order, that's the best way to get a hold of me is at witchskewl@gmail.com. WITCHSKEWL @gmail.com, and then I can always, for my loyal listeners and stuff, I can speed things up. Yeah, dude, I don't know if these are mosquitoes I keep seeing or what. I hope those aren't mosquitoes because they're big. They're what we would have as mosquito hawks, but I don't know.
I'm gonna see if New Orleans has larger mosquitoes.
Probably do all that swamp shit.
Yeah.
Probably have mosquitoes
You
that
gotta
carry away
check,
small
see,
dogs.
like those pots, they collect water. They're like,
Oh.
there's stagnant water in the pots right now, and that's gonna attract mosquitoes.
All right. Let's see. What would happen if you combine magic and computers? Computer magic. I've done a lot of that, actually. Definitely could do that. Matter of fact, I did one time using a citizens band radio on an illegal frequency during a skip cycle. For those of you that aren't old as fuck, there are times when the sunspots heat up the ionosphere, the electrical layer surrounding the planet, so we can bounce radio signals off of it. And the radio signals will pop up, halfway across the country. I've even talked to Australia, talked to Russia one time, and that was back during the Cold War. That person probably got killed. And there were these radio stations around the world that you could access through a computer and listen to a certain frequency. And I was able to transmit a certain magical language, bounce it off the ionosphere, hear it repeated on the other end halfway across the country, back to me. Now, I have just used the powers of air and electricity, sent it through the air, bounced it off an electrically charged layer of the ionosphere, which gives it a lot of juju, arrives over here on a computer on the other side of the country, is now a mathematical calculation that is then transmitted back to me through fiber optic cables, which are light. So, transmitted as a light source back to me. You can see how powerful that could be, right? The shit I did with that was fucking phenomenal. Lots of different ways to do that kind of thing nowadays. Recommend making candles for certain spells during planetary alignments. Yes, that's typically how I do it. You need to know, what planet's ruling what you're going to be doing with that candle and make it during that alignment in the name of that planet. Hello, how can I connect with a family member who has just passed away? There's a little thing I pick up from some of the ATRs. It's called a bovida. We're not going to traditionally do it, but really all you need is a table with a white tablecloth and a glass of water. And the most common is like a wine glass, just water. That's the start of an ancestor altar. You can include pictures of your ancestors, stuff associated with them, possessions that they had, offerings to your ancestors, whatever you have. When there's a lot of bubbles in the water, that's when you got spiritual activity on the thing, and that's when you start talking. So when you start talking to your ancestors just like they were there, keep doing this, keep doing this. They will find a way to communicate to you in a way that you'll recognize is them. It may be in your sleep, maybe fleeting thoughts, there may be stuff that happens that reminds you of your ancestors, but you start doing it. Start trying to communicate with them, and it will happen. They'll meet you halfway, basically. Let's see. How to get rid of a poltergeist or unwanted spirits? You can go to this page and look up cleansing with fire and air.
Make sure they open all the drawers and closets.
Yeah, that's what I'm teaching them in that video. But then, so that's just that part. Then you also want to watch when you banish, you must invoke. Don't not watch that video. Okay, that's really important. You could do all that work, get rid of the thing, and if you don't invoke something to fill its place, it's gonna come back. So go watch that video. It will explain it in much greater detail. Hopefully. Let's see. I'm getting okay. I did it. I am caught up, Derek. All right. Well, let's see. We'll do. I'll do three more. I've been here. I think I've been here about an hour. We're doing Ask Uncle Birch. We're getting ready for the March 1st class, a year and a day in all things witchery. You can go to gumroad.com/witchskewl, WITCHSKEWL. And if you look at any of the current year and a day courses going on, you'll see a list of all the things that's in the course. Just don't sign up for that course. It's already happening, and that will cause confusion, and we'll have to figure out a bunch of weird digital duct tape to fix that situation. You gotta wait. You gotta wait for March 1st, probably like, midnight, the night before. Ooh, look at the black kitty next door. Can you see him through the bushes? To the left of the barbecue. Oh, there's a couple kitties. You can look at the stuff that's offered in the course, but March 1st, the March 1st course will appear. If you want to make sure to get a spot in that course, you need to contact me at witchskewl@gmail.com, WITCHSKEWL@gmail.com. I can get all the details, and when March 1st happened, there's an arbitrary amount of slots open for that course. I don't even know where it comes. But if you contact me ahead of time, I have an unlimited amount of slots that I can secure because it's my page. Some hoodoo folks like to use Vicks vapor in the corners of their rooms to shoo away spirits. That's true, but Vicks is not a pure form of camphor. I mean, you could just get camphor. it's probably, I think it's cheaper than Vicks anyways, but in a pinch, yeah. I mean, hoodoo's, a lot of times hoodoo's trying to use stuff around the house, so that's good, use cooking spices and stuff like that. And then, a lot of kitchen witchery does that too. Yeah, the camphor in hoodoo's for that. But then in Strega, we're using camphor to communicate with the moon and connect with the moon, but the moon also rules those spirits too. So yeah, let's see. How can I work with Serg? Not sure the spelling. Serg, S-E-R-G. Not sure the spelling. You know anything that sounds like that?
S-E-R-G.
We are not knowing what that is. Sarge. Well, do you have Urban Primitive? You must. You've heard me speak of it. It is on my list, I think, on the Amazon.com/shop/freakfill1309. That should give you some techniques there for working with Sarge, I believe. Yeah, I think so. Yes. So yeah, Urban Primitive. It's urban gods, which are really egregores. What would constitute a crossroads? Could be the crossing of two streets on your block. I also have a cemetery at the end of my street, which is better for calling Hecate. The cemetery is better. The crossroads not close to your house is usually best. There's supposed to be like a quest involved. And then sometimes, you're going to be leaving, and somewhere can be leaving nasty shit at the crossroads. And at that point, it's you want to pick a crossroads that you don't frequent often. But then, so typically, yeah, it's just two roads that meet, like a plus. But then there's some data for a three-way cross where, got two roads here, and then there's another one going like that. So a three-way crossroads, even more potent. And since goddesses work in threes, it makes a lot of sense. But those are, hard to find, those kind of crossroads. But if you can, that's said to be more optimal. Okay, I think that was two. Let's do one more. Then I gotta do other stuff. Updates on the Magical Warfare book. Any chances of a book on your brewing techniques? Well, I'm hoping, now that I'm in New Orleans, I'm going to get to that kind of thing. I have some software that I've yet to really work with, and hopefully it'll work out. I really need to dictate. I started to write some stuff for the magical warfare, and then went back and looked at it. It's like, well, it was good, but it's just really brief, short. I'm like, it's really short and to the point when I write, and that's, there's no flair to it. Um, quite frankly wouldn't read it myself, the stuff that I wrote. So um, once it gets there, I've got the best editor in the world sitting next to me, so it'll be perfect. But I need I need it to be more wordy. So I'm working with dictation software, and I actually have a student that does that kind of thing for a living. So I may hit that up too. So I have all the ideas in there. I just need to get them out. Now, got kind of caught up in this moving to New Orleans thing. Took up a lot of time and energy. But then I'm also working on somebody has transcribed, I believe, my entire year in a day course. So I'm gonna have to sit and work with that person too. So there's possibility of making that into a book too. Some people like to read, but if I need to get the reading like I talk. And one of my favorite books back in the day was 50 Years in the Fairy Tradition by Cora Anderson. And in that book, she's got this old wise woman who's been around for, like 50 years at least in the tradition. And she just talks, and there's a scribe there just writing down what she said. And the book would have never come out with the flavor and color that it had of an old wise woman sitting there talking to you if she had typed it. It was just, so that kind of thing. Maybe I need a scribe. I don't know. But it's in the works. I have a publishing company already waiting for me to try and do that. We'll see what they do, or if they accept it, and then I'll send it to another one if they don't. But I am working on a couple things, a lot of things. I mean, a reason a guy like me works or moves to New Orleans, besides we love the fuck out of the place, this is where a full-time witch needs to be. If you're going to do this kind of thing for a living, it's where this or Salem, and Salem's too fucking cold. It was, the cold we got here in the winter, that's cold enough. I can deal with that. How do I start a witchy shop? Well, you can take my year-to-day course starting March 1st. You'll find out about that by contacting me at WitchSkewl@gmail.com, where I have one of the few courses anybody's ever done. It's going to teach you to set up shop, and teach you brewing techniques. I even give some distributors away, some business techniques, stuff that I learned over my many decades of making mistakes in the field. As such, those things that I learned are pretty solid. Other than that, I don't know anybody that's gonna give those things up. People, view those things as trade secrets. I don't so much. I don't spawn. Now I'm a big fish in an ocean, and there's just too many fish in this fucking ocean for me to have competition anywhere. See somebody else asking a question. I already answered one more question past the questions that we were going to answer. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Keep an eye out for me. You never know when I'm going to pop up and do this thing. Rarely have I ever given any notice that I was going to go live. But try and catch me next time, and you can ask your question. If I see it in the thing later, maybe I'll try and type in an answer. But gotta go. Uncle Birch, get ready to sign out. Be sure and check out gumroad.com/witchskewl, WITCHSKEWL. And if you want to get in the class, secure your spot in the class, contact me at witchskewl@gmail.com, WITCHSKEWL. I'm getting ready to do some rebranding so I don't have to spell that shit anymore. Okay. Thank you all very much. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again.